Yo guys, sorry, you already know that today I'm bringing you my initial impressions for Stellar Blade. This is a series of videos that I do to let you know what I'm playing on my own time and give you an initial impression and a final impression when I'm done with the game. This video is being brought to you after about 2 hours of playtime, and I'm really excited to talk about my experiences so far. So let's get the basics out of the way. Stellar Blade is an action-adventure third-person game that was released on April 26th, 2024 for the PlayStation 5. It is a PS5 exclusive as of the uploading of this video, which just shows once again Sony's ability to continue to make exclusives and reasons to buy their consoles. For those of you that have not seen me do a video like this before, I try to take some of my initial observations and predict whether that is going to be a good or bad thing, and I try to structure it in a way so that way when I get to my final impressions, when I'm done with the game, I can sort of look back and directly talk about the bullet points that I'm going to bring up. So in no particular order, I'm going to try to narrow things down to some bullet points so we can get across my thoughts. But overall, I do think that this game is really good so far. So the first thing to get out of the way is the story. I am not much of a story in video games kind of guy. I find sitting there and watching cutscenes to be pretty boring. So what I gather from the story is you play as a girl and you fight against some sort of alien creatures that are called Natibas. One of them is some sort of grand Natiba or whatever that attacks and kills the person that you're with in the opening cutscene of the game. And you're just going around fighting them, and I can't be bothered to pay attention to more than that. That is why I'm not a proper review channel, because that requires way too much effort and for me to pay attention more than I would like to. And so you're probably thinking that I'm bringing this up as a negative, but actually the cutscenes have been very short. There's a lot of gameplay in between them, and you really only get some small cutscenes when you reach little resting spots, and they don't last very long. It's very easy to just sort of sit there, watch them talk back and forth for 15 seconds, and then you're off to play the game again. So the pacing of the story and the balancing of cutscenes versus gameplay is really, really good, because it is about 95% gameplay and 5% cutscenes, which is a balance that I absolutely love. Not to discredit anybody who has worked on the story and who is invested in the story, I just can't really get myself to invest in it, but also I don't find it dragging on to the point where it's ruining my experience with the game or anything. The main positive that I'm going to have about this game, and is the reason that I think would draw you to play this game and is going to draw me to continue to play the game, is the combat. The combat is very fluid and solid. You have a normal attack, you have a strong attack, you have these abilities that you can use as a way to perform more powerful attacks. You can dodge, you can parry, and all of that builds a gauge that you then use to release some of those attacks, and you can improve them in skill trees. And it's all sort of standard-ish stuff that I think is just put together in a really nice, fluid package. The feel of the combat is the thing that I would give the highest praise to this game, and I don't really have much more to expand on other than it feels really fun. Normal enemies still can provide a bit of a challenge if you get grouped up and surrounded in a weird way. If you are not parrying or dodging at the right time, I found it very easy to get caught in multiple attacks, but it's never in a way that feels unfair, and I already feel like I'm sort of getting the game down, where it's not hard by any means. If you have experience in the genre and other action games, you're probably not going to struggle too much. From what I remember, the game only has 2 difficulty options, which is a story mode and then just a normal mode. So maybe there's a hard mode that gets unlocked after you beat it, but as of right now, I'm playing on the highest available difficulty, which is just normal mode. There's already been a good variety of enemies, some that have shields, some that are bigger, some that are smaller, some that will shoot projectiles at you, some that will run up on you. I've beaten one major boss, which has been a lot of fun. It came right down to the wire, and I'm pretty sure I finished that fight with 1 sliver of health left. So it was really exciting and invigorating, and I have faith that the game is going to continue to provide an overwhelmingly positive combat experience. So let's move away from combat and talk about some initial impressions I have just with the setup of the rest of the game and some of the gameplay elements. So the loop of this game seems to be pretty linear, where you will go in a straightforward direction, and there will be side paths to explore here and there if you want extra items and whatnot. And that seems to be perfectly fine. I like more linear games. I had no idea if this was going to be a game that tried to have a huge open world or not, but it doesn't really seem to be like that. It is pretty linear. You kind of have these zones almost, where you're just going forward. A lot of times the path forward is blocked and needs some sort of passcode, so you need to take an alternate route to go find a body that has the password, and then go back, put that in, and then you can move forward to the next sort of zone. And it seems to be pretty straightforward in that sense. And not like you're just walking straight forward and not doing like anything interesting. There's already been a variety of environments, places that are visually different from one another, places that have water that you have to swim through or water that you have to avoid. And again, this is another area where I feel like the game is excelling in the variety that it offers. But now I'm going to bring up a few nitpicks that I think could harm my overall opinion of the game, but I'm not sure at this point in time. So the first thing that I want to bring up is my sort of ability to navigate through this game. Like I said, this game is very linear. However, a lot of the environments are somewhat dark, so they are varied, and I stand by that point, but a lot of the things that you need to find very much blend in with the environment. Like I said, there will be doors that are blocked by passcodes, and you need to go find them. However, on multiple occasions already, the body that has a passcode is just sort of blending in with the wall. There is not a huge marker or icon to show you that something is there, and the only way that you can see it is if you are really looking at every nook and cranny, or if you're constantly using the scan feature that you have. And I just wish that everything that was in the environment just stood out a little bit more. Things like chests that you can open, things like the items on the ground that you pick up, a lot of them very much almost blend in with the background, and you can see them, but they don't stand out as much as I would have liked. I am notoriously bad at navigating video games and seeing things that are right in front of my face, so this might not be an issue that most people have. This could be just a me issue. However, I'm the one doing this video, and I'm the one experiencing this game and giving my opinion, so that is just something to bring up if you are also equally bad at seeing things that are right in front of your face. Also, on 2 different occasions, I got to a point where I couldn't figure out how to progress forward, and so I was hit with the game's hint system, which you can disable if you don't want hints, and you can adjust how long the game will take before it gives them to you. However, my problem is that the hints don't really tell you much of anything. So both times that I got stuck, it was at a door that needed, one that needed an item to open it, and one that needed a passcode, and the one that needed an item, the hint was telling me, hey, go find this item to open the door. And I already knew that, so the hint wasn't telling me anything that I didn't already know. And then the other one was sort of a puzzle where it was just like, oh, go find this, that'll tell you the code. And I was like, I know what I'm looking for, but I don't know where it is. And there's no hints that sort of help you with navigation. The hints will just tell you the what and not the how. And I feel like hints should sort of guide you in the direction of how, not what, because I'm not having trouble figuring out what, I'm sometimes having trouble figuring out how. Hopefully that makes sense. And I also need to add a caveat to that in no way have any of the puzzles that have been here been bad. They've been really good, and the few that I've had to use my own brain to figure out has been very satisfying. So this is not a knock on the game's puzzles or anything like that. It's just a knock on the game's hint system. And the final thing that I want to bring up is how inconvenient some of the game systems feel. So first off, by default, the ability to pick up items is tied to a button and is not done automatically. This means that when you open a chest, you have to hit a button to pick things up. If you defeat an enemy that drops things, you have to hit a button to pick things up. Thankfully, this is something that you can turn off, but I just don't understand why that is the default in the first place. This kind of reminds me of like Forspoken last year, which had the same thing, where it's just like if you're gliding through the overworld, you're not going to stop and pick everything up. And in some games, this makes sense. Like, if you do have a big open world, I understand that, like, oh, maybe you want to manage your resources and not pick up every little thing. But in this game, where there's not stuff lying everywhere, and the stuff that you are getting is usually stuff that you're going out of your way to get, you should just be picking them up automatically, which thankfully there is an option to set them that way, but I just can't envision the scenario where you don't want to pick up these items, so that's a little bit strange. Also a little bit strange is just the resting places in general. So you have these places that you can rest, that's all fine and dandy. Some of them you can use this one machine to upgrade like equipment and stuff like that, and then a lot of them don't have that. They all have a shop, a place for you to restore your health, and a place for you to look at your skills. However, there are others that have this other machine that helps you upgrade your armor and things like that, and also the ones that let you upgrade your armor are also the only ones that have a phone to let you like fast travel, because you can only fast travel from those big camps or whatever, which is weird because it's not like there's a lot of them. So if you're out in the world and you get something that you want to upgrade, you might not find a big camp to upgrade that at for a little while, or you might want to go back to the previous one, but the previous one might be back a little bit too far, and you can't fast travel to it because the fast travel system is locked to these phones that are at the big thing, which doesn't really make any sense. Thankfully, it hasn't mattered that much to me because I don't really see the value in fast traveling back to previous areas. This is not a game that I see myself completing because there's no real incentive to. The items that you pick up don't really seem to have any sense of value placed on them. I just feel like I'm walking around picking up items and going through the whole shindig of like, oh, I'll use these to upgrade this, but I'm not going out of my way to have to upgrade a specific piece of armor or whatever, because I'll just do it whenever it comes to me. And the final thing is that you can't manually save your game. I think it only autosaves, and it only autosaves at most camps. There was actually one time that I found a chair that I was able to rest at and restore my HP, but because it wasn't a real camp, it didn't count as a save spot, meaning that I had to keep going till the next save point, which I can just tell is going to get me one of these times where I'm going to want to save the game and stop, and I'm not going to be able to until I get to a save point. And they are plentiful, but it is 2024. You should be able to just pause and save the game. There's no excuse to not have that. And if that is an option that you can do and I just have missed it, then it should be in a more obvious place, because I haven't found a way to do that anywhere. All of the little nitpicks I have individually don't really matter in the grand scheme of things, but when you put together things like items and enemies blending into the background, not being able to pick up items right away unless you go into the settings and modify that, not being able to save unless you had a certain save point, not being able to access upgrades, and this game also has like suits and stuff like that. I unlocked a suit that is only, visual, doesn't have any gameplay ramifications as far as I am aware of, and I can't even put that on because I have to wait until I get to a big camp, which then I have to use random materials around the world to construct that, so that way I can change the outward appearance of what Eve looks like. And it's just a lot of these inconvenient things that sort of pile together that I don't think is a big deal, but I do think this is one of the things that could take this game from being like a Game of the Year contender down to just being like a really good game that sort of gets lost in the sands of time years from now. You'll think back to this year, and I feel like this game might end up being forgettable because it doesn't have that extra polish and that extra thing to really stand on to make it stand out. I think it might just get lost in the sauce of other action, adventure, RPG type games of its genre. But this is all off of just my first 2 hours of playtime. This is just my initial impressions. So overall, I'm expecting to be able to finish this game and beat it and not have a problem. I do not think I'm going to do any sort of 100% completion because it just doesn't feel like that's something that I would want to engage with in this game. I expect this to just be a really good game that is probably somewhere in my top 10 games of the year list, just by virtue of the combat and the boss fights being really, really good so far. But that's only something that I'll know once I have actually played the game. And once I played the game, I will come back with another video, give you my final impressions, so we can talk and see if any of these issues continue to be a problem, if new issues arrived, if other things show up that are good or bad. We'll see, we'll compare, and see how my final impressions match up with my initial impressions. It's a video that I will do down the road once I'm done with the game. So let me know, what are some of your impressions with Stellar Blade? I know this video is about a week after the game came out, so are you already done with the game? What are your experiences with it? Did I get anything completely wrong? Let me know these things and more in the comment section below, and I will be back in the future for a final impression video of this type. In the meantime, you can watch me do my Let's Play content that gets uploaded daily. There aren't any other new games on my radar that I don't already have plans for a full playthrough of, so I don't know the next time that you'll see initial impressions from me. But if there are other games that are coming out, let me know, and maybe I'll get around to them. I still need to work on finishing this, as well as Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, so I've got my free time covered for now, but you never know for the future. Let me know of any other games that you would like me to play. Either way, I'm going to go ahead and stop rambling now. Thank you for watching, and I will see you all around to the next time. So till then, peace out.